Sairam, Sairam to all of you. Happy to be here. When I started talking about Swami, all of you are aware he's a very difficult and elusive subject. And several years ago, as I started doing this, the best formula I found out is just to share my experiences with him, because there is so much written about him, and he has given so many speeches in this day and age. They are all either at the tip of your fingers or even closer. So that formula has worked, so I'm going to do the same today. And then again, the topic generally isn't anything very concrete. I just kind of ramble. But I was thinking about today, and one of Swami's pet, I won't call it a pet peeve, I would call it a favorite of his, like pretty much, I'm not going to bring the gender into it, it's a boys thing, cars. And we are in the car capital of the world today. So I thought I would just kind of ramble a little bit about whatever I know in that aspect of his life. I was born basically about 150 miles from Puttaparthi, and it so happened that I was the fifth child, and nobody took me very serious, and they even forgot to record my date of birth. So when Jean asked me how old I am, I said, your guess is as good as mine. And then how did it become an official entity? I went to school for a couple of years in my village. Then we moved into a main city or a town. It's the headquarters of the district. And I was to join the high school. And so the clerk and my dad kind of conspired and worked backwards and gave me a date of birth, so I'm old enough to join the school. So that's the only official document I have. That's the school certificate. And from then on, it went into the passport. Otherwise, I would have trouble figuring out my date of birth. Anyway, so though it was 150 miles, it took me pretty much most of my adult life running all over the world before I ended up at Swami's doorstep. Obviously, all these are his own manipulations, I would say, in a positive way. So first time I ever went to Puttaparthi was in 1993 March, and I didn't know anything about Swami, and I went there just to volunteer in the hospital because they told me it's a free hospital. And actually, free heart surgery is basically an oxymoron. It's not possible. Nowhere else in the world it's being done, and I don't think it will ever be done also. So that's how I ended up into Swami's fold. And then it unfolded in many, many different ways. And also my profession, being a heart surgeon, you hold your heart in your hand in the morning, another in the afternoon, another in the evening, and a head that is small in the morning ends up being an extra large by evening. So that's the other thing that also is a thing against me. So we always have this silly joke amongst ourselves, and we ask ourselves, what's the difference between a heart surgeon and God? God never thinks he's a heart surgeon. You got it. So that's how I was when I went to Swami. Anyway, so coming back to this, after I took early retirement from my practice, because I always wanted to pay back to Indian government because they provided me education in India before I came here. And obviously Swami's hospital was my only venue to be able to offer my services to the needy, not to the rich people who can go anywhere and get their surgery done. So I ended up getting to be one of the main surgeons that would volunteer. So I would work there for 3 months, my vacation time, and then come back to my practice for 9 months here. And since '94, every year I wanted to go back and spend all the time with Swami, but he knows the timing. His timing is, as you know, impeccable. He kept saying no, no, no. And suddenly in 2000, during his birthday, he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know, Swami." And he said, "You have 1 foot there and 1 foot here." I said, "That was your blessings only." He said, "No, it's time for you to come back." So in 3 months I resigned. Nobody believed I would resign. I resigned and took my job with Swami. And then I would work 9 months in his hospitals, and for 3 months I would kind of go around the world and mostly visit Swami's centers, and that's how my life was. So those days they gave me a 3-bedroom flat in the hospital, and you know it's 6 kilometers from the hospital to the ashram. So I would always thumb a ride or take a bus, and sometimes in the summer it became a little hard. So this was going on for a while, and one day Swami comes and says, "How are you coming to darshan?" I said, "Swami, you know everything. Either I come by bus or somebody brings me here." "Oh, is that so?" I said, "Yes, Swami." "I'll give you a car." I said, "Jai Sai Ram, Swami, nothing more than I would ask for." So it went for a couple of weeks and nothing happened. So then suddenly one day he came to me and he said, "How are you coming to work?" I said, "Swami, I told you." "Oh, I'll give you a car. I'll give you a car in 2 days. Don't worry about it." I said, "Okay, Swami, thank you very much. Sai Ram." And then, of course, it's such a rumor started floating, and then, everybody hears what Swami says in the world, and they went around and saying, "Oh, Swami is going to give Choudary a car, And we all know what cars he has and all that, and I didn't know any idea, but so then somebody came and said, "Oh, Swami has this nice little red, Zen. It's a very sporty car and air conditioned. It's so fun to drive. I'm sure that's what he's going to give you." I said, "Okay, that's good. Whatever he gives me, that's good enough." Then the evening before, he comes to me and says, "Your car is ready." I said, "Thank you, Swami." And so he calls his driver, Padmanabhan, and says, "Make sure you give the car to the doctor in the morning. Make sure there's a lot of petrol in the car." I said, "That sounds good." And so everything was over, and then I went to the driver and I said, "What am I supposed to do?" He said, No, sir, you know Purnachandra Hall where Swami's cars are?" I said, "Yeah." "You come there at 6 o'clock in the morning, sir, I'll give you the car." My goodness, that's phenomenal. I'm getting a car from Swami. So there's a bus, hospital bus, that goes from the hospital to the ashram at 5:30 in the morning. So I was the first guy in the bus, and so I went there and was standing outside the Purnachandra hall. Then Padmanabhan shows up and takes me to this beat-up van and says, "Sir, this is your car." And I said, "Padmanabhan, you're mistaken. Swami said I'm going to get a car." "No, sir, I don't know anything about it, but this is the keys for the van and this is your van." And then, of course, I'm ready to blow up. And Nitin, the boy who goes behind Swami, comes by and says, Sir, what is going on?" I said, "Nitin, you heard me, you were with Swami. Swami said, I'm going to give you a car." "Yeah." "Yes, sir, this is it. If Padmanabhan says this is it, I'm sure this is it." "Okay, this is it." So I said, "Okay." And I sit in this red Maruti van on the driver's side. I know these Maruti vans because the hospital has a couple of them. They go anywhere they want to go, and everybody started learning driving in them. It's kind of like a nightmare. So I sit in it, and I haven't driven a car in India in 35, 40 years. I have no idea what is going on. I used to always say it. So I said, "Padmanabhan, at least let me show me what it is." He says, "Okay, no worries, sir, sit down. You can start it." And first of all, I'm sitting on the wrong side of the car. Of course, that's where it should be. So you start, and then you have to shift with your left hand. And so I get into the first gear, and he says, "Sir, let's go around the block." I'm fuming with this stuff. Of course, once we open the door, there's a big hole where the speaker should have been, and there is no speaker. And so, but then when I started driving it, it's just moving very comfortably. So I put it into the second gear and go around the block. And the guy makes a mistake at that time and says, Sir, what kind of a car do you drive in America?" I said, "Do you want to know? I drive an ML55 AMG, which is 8 cylinders, has 360 horsepower, and goes 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. That's what I drive there." And the guy was looking at me like, "What's going on? I just asked a question. This man is barking at me." So anyway, halfway through, I was trying to shift into the third gear. He says, Sir, I have to go because it's time for me to take Swami. They may call me any minute. So he leaves me, and I'm in the middle of the ashram in this van. I have no clue what's going on. Anyway, so you know how it is, because there's very little room. Anyway, I managed to drive it around and park near the Ganesha gate. And I said, let me go into Darshan hall, and when Swami comes, I have to get a word with him. How could he do this? How could he do this to me? I am this big heart surgeon from the United States. I have done everything, and he gives me this van. So I'm sitting there. I have a nice place in the veranda. He cannot escape me because I'm right in front of the interview room. There's nobody. Those days he used to come in a golf cart. So sure enough, bhajans, and then the golf cart starts coming. Sure enough, that day, I'm sitting on this side, he's sitting on the other side of the golf cart. And that's it. I'm boiling, and there's nothing I could do, and he just drives past me, doesn't even look at me, totally ignores. And that's the end of it. And after 8 o'clock, you cannot get caught there. You have to be in the hospital. I said, I'll take care of him in the evening. This is what. So I drive it. And it's funny, it drives really, really nice, seriously, for something beatable. It drove very well. So I parked, we call the VIP entrance in the hospital. I parked there, and I was trying to rush through to the hospital. And the first person that stops me is the director's driver, Shankar. Sir, you got the red van? I said, yeah, what is it, you Shankar? Oh, we tried to get it for the director, and Swami won't give it. I said, okay. Then I go into the hospital, and Dr. Bhatt is a senior surgeon there for a long time. And his driver is Raju, an older man. He comes and he says, Sir, you're driving the red 1008? I said, yeah. What is it, Raju? Oh, we tried to get it for but Swami wouldn't give it because it's one of the first batch of cars and Maruti sent straight to Swami to be used. Maybe. So then I go up to the operating room and one of Swami's boys runs the heart-lung machine. He comes to me and he says, "Sir, I'm happy you got the red van." I said, "Ravi, what do you mean you're happy? Swami promised me a car." "Sir, you don't know, sir, this is a very special van. Very few people get to drive it. You don't know the history of it. You better thank Swami in the evening when you go for darshan." And so I said, "What's going on here? I don't understand this." Anyway, I go in the evening for darshan. Sure enough, I'm sitting there. This time he's coming towards me and he's smiling. And I said, "Swami, thank you very much for the van, Swami. How is it driving?" "Swami, it's driving very well, Swami." So, so I drove it for about 6 months. I was there. It really was very nice, really good. It's really a very good machine. And I could tell it was made special. It's not one of the run-of-the-mill kind of vans, and it didn't have much mileage on it. And if I had seen him in the morning or he was on my side, I would have become the biggest fool and would have blasted. And I've been in trouble with Swami before, but in serious trouble this time. And how this, anyway. So, and then February, March comes, and normally I take away April, May, and it gets very hot in Puttaparthi. So I came back. I returned the van and came back. And when I came back, I can't find the van, nothing. So I'm just again thumbing right and going up and down. And so one day he comes and says, "How are you coming to the ashram?" I said, "Swami, somebody gives me a ride, like chief engineer, or I come by the bus." And then he says, "I'll give you a car." I said, in my mind, I said, "Sure enough, Swami, you'll give you." Then a week goes by and he comes and says, "Your car is in Bangalore. It'll be here tomorrow and you can take it day after tomorrow morning." I said, "Okay, it's good." It's here telling me what. Of course, again, rumors start flying. "Oh, Swami is going to give another car to Choudary and everything then." And then again, the evening before, same thing. He comes to me. He says, "Yes, your car is there tomorrow morning. Padmanabhan, come over." Padmanabhan comes. "Make sure the doctor gets the car. Make sure the petrol is there and everything is fine." So I said next day morning, I just, leisurely went and I said, "There's no use to rush. The van is going to be there anyway. So what am I have to worry about?" So I go there. And then Padmanabhan takes me inside, where they keep all Swami's cars inside the garage in Purnachandra Hall. And sure enough, there is this bright red, Zen shining. And, "Sir, this is your car." I said, "What?" "Yes, Swami made sure it got serviced. It's all ready. It came yesterday from Bangalore. It's just for you." And I said, "Jai Sai Ram." So I got into the car. This time he didn't have to explain or anything. It's really a beautiful, nice machine, little one, very nice. And I would drive around like crazy around. It's beautiful, air conditioned, everything is fine. So that evening, Swami says, "How is the red car?" I said, "Swami, Swami, it's very good, Swami. Thank you very much. It's going on well." So I drove it for the rest of the year, then returned it, and came back to United States. So as usual, I went back in June, and at that time, Swami was in Vrindavan. I'm just trying to tell you how minutest things happen with his knowledge only. So I went there, and I didn't want to go back to Parthi as long as Swami is here. So always he says, when did you come? All the pleasantries are over. And then he says, why don't you go start work tomorrow? I said, I will do, Swami. He said, yeah, your car is here by the by, and I will tell Padmanabhan, you take it this evening, and then you go tomorrow to Parthi. So at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, Swami is already in Ramesh Hall. So I go to Padmanabhan and said, Padmanabhan, I want my car. Yes, sir, it is in there, but I didn't get any intimation, sir, I cannot give you the car. I said, Padmanabhan, Swami told me this. No, sir, I cannot take your word for it. And then suddenly I said, okay, let's talk to Satyajit because he is the one who knows everything. Sure enough, it all integrated before, nothing. So Satyajit is coming down the steps. And I said, Satyajit, Sairam, Swami said I could take the Zen and go back to work tomorrow. And he said, sir, very many apologies, sir. Swami told me this morning to give you the car. I just forgot to tell Padmanabhan. You see, nothing escapes, Swami's attention. It's just, so then of course they were a little upset. And I said, you know me very well, don't worry about it. It's all a misunderstanding, but it's all fine. So I took the Zen, just drove to Parthi and, started working as usual. And it's going well. Then it so happened that I had to work more in Bangalore than in Parthi because there was more need for me in Whitefield. So I'll be going back and forth. And I felt a little uncomfortable. It's a beautiful car, but it's a little small car. Those highways, you never know what's going to happen. Any of those trucks can just ride over you and that's the end of the story kind of a thing. Of course, Swami knows this better than anybody else. So one day he said, how is the car? What is going on? I said, Swami, I have to go to Bangalore often in the highway. I feel a little uncomfortable, Swami, with it. Yes, you must get a bigger car. I said, Jai Sai Ram, Swami, okay, very good. And then I said, Swami, is that going to be your choice or my choice? Because you have to be very clear with him because you don't know what is. Next day he'll tell you what are you kind of an idiot are you? What kind of a car did you get? And he looked at me and he said, it's your choice. Buy whatever the bigger car is, you go get it. Don't worry about it. Go get it. I said, okay, Swami. You see, he was so kind to me, he will even give me my airfare before I'm coming here. Because he knew I left everything, came here, and I'm working for him. But he knows that. But a couple of months before, you see how everything gets ties in. I had a house in Chennai. My brother used to manage, and I got tired of it. So I told Swami, one day I want to sell the house, Swami. Very good, sell it. So then my brother sold it. So I went back to Swami and I said, Swami, I sold the house. You know what his next question was? You would never believe what his next question was. He said, how much did you sell it for? So it was a very good price. I told him that. See, he knew that the money is there, so go get the car. You see, he's the best businessman you can ever find on the face of the earth. So anyway, so I was looking around and suddenly see this CRV, the Honda makes. It's a nice car. It looks good. It's driving around. So I said, that's what I will get. So I test drove one of them in Bangalore. It was really very nice, really nice car. I thought that will be good. So my friends were arranging for me, and then they said, sir, what color would you like? I said, I have a couple of SUVs at home. They're all green, and green is my favorite color. And they started hilariously laughing like I was a fool. I said, what are you talking about? Why, sir? In India, have you ever seen many green cars around? I said, I don't think so. And then they said, this is, not just, I'm just telling because mentality is like that. You know what Pakistan's flag color is, sir? I said, no, I don't know. Green. If If it's olive green, maybe okay, sir, but they don't make. So anyway, that's the sides. So then I said, brown is good because it's Swami's color, brown is good. So I called this dealer guy and I said, listen, I test drove, it is fine. I want a Honda CR-V. He said, no problem, sir, we'll get it. When do you want it? This is Sunday. I want it on Thursday. I want to take delivery on Thursday. It's a good day, it's Swami's day, and then I want to go to Puttaparthi. Sir, the car is in Bombay, sir. I don't think we can get it by Thursday. I said, what's the problem? Oh, it has to come by truck. I said, do whatever you have to do. I'm going to buy it. And I didn't realize they had to bring two of them because bringing one is not economical in a truck. So anyway, the guy calls me Monday evening. He said, sir, it's all arranged. We got you collar. It's in the truck. It's leaving Monday evening, Bombay. But I'm not sure I can give it to you Thursday. I said, why? It has to come here by Wednesday at least noon time so I can get it ready and give it. So I said, listen, there's 1,000 rupees tip for the driver. Tell him put in a couple of extra hours. And that got his attention. And he said, no, sir, don't worry, sir, we'll give it to you Thursday. So, and then Wednesday evening, the guy comes and does all the paperwork, and I make a check. He looks at the check, business manager, and says, sir, everything is in order. You can come tomorrow afternoon and pick up your car. We are making it ready, and everything is ready. I said, fine. So, next day morning, we made the schedule a little shorter, and I was getting ready to go into the operating room, and the manager calls and says, sir, your check is no good. I said, what kind of an idiot are you? You sent your own business manager, and he looked at the check. He wanted this particular check, and I got it certified. Sir, but it is, the bank is in Madras, Chennai. I said, so what? We are in Karnataka. So what? It takes 2 weeks for money to come from Karnataka to here. I said, it's 200 miles. Yes, sir, miles wise it is, but bank transfer, it takes 2 weeks. And I cannot give you the car unless I have the money here. I said, you're out of your mind. Why didn't the guy tell me this yesterday evening? Oh, he didn't know, sir. So what do you mean he didn't know? I want the car today. Doesn't matter. No, sir, we cannot give you. Our account department won't agree, and we will not give you. I said, what's going on here? Then I suddenly realized my brother's son-in-law works for Indian Overseas Bank. So I called my brother and I said, do something. He said, don't worry about it. You wouldn't believe it. Exactly it took my brother's son-in-law 2 minutes to transfer 3 checks from his bank to this guy's bank. That's all it took. And immediately I got a call in 5 minutes. Sir, we got the money. You can take the car this evening. I said, what happened? No, we got wire transferred. Everything is fine. You can take the car. Anyway, so I went and got the car. It was very beautiful, really nice. I know how many of you have driven a Honda CR-V. It's no Mercedes ML55, but still is excellent for Indian roads. And my honest desire is for Swami to bless the car, because he told me to get a bigger car, and this is as big as they come there. So I know I had to work Friday, so Saturday I drove the car, and Swami came for darshan, and I said, Swami, I got a big car. I said, very good, very good. Then I said, Swami, would you please bless the car? Bless the car? Okay, I will do it tomorrow. You know, tomorrow is tomorrow, but tomorrow I'll bless tomorrow. Okay, I said, Jai Sai Ram, Swami, bless it tomorrow. So my refuge in the situations is again Padmanabhan, Swami's driver. And I said, Padmanabhan, Swami said he will bless the car tomorrow. What are we supposed to do? He said, don't worry, sir. You drive it to Purnachandra Hall. I'll just take care of everything. So by 6:30, I drove it there. And the guy washed it absolutely clean from top to bottom, and then had a beautiful garland, put it on it, and then had a tray full of lemons and coconuts and everything. Perfect. I said, how do you know these things? Oh, 3 years ago, Swami blessed another car, sir. That's how I know this routine. Okay, that's fine. So I was sitting, 10:30, 11. Swami never showed up. I said, that is Swami's tomorrow. So then I was a little disappointed, and Chakravarti was coming out and he felt sorry for me. And he said, no, don't drive the car back. I will arrange for a ride for you, but leave the car here. Maybe he'll bless in the afternoon. I said, okay. So this Padmanabhan is a smart guy. He said, sir, let me take the garland, put it in a cool place, otherwise it will wilt by the afternoon. So he took it off and everything. Again, the same situation started. That I went there at 2:30 and I was waiting outside, the Ajur Mandir. There's a seat for me to sit and wait for Swami. And 2:30, 3 o'clock, and 4:30 is Rahu Kalam on Sunday. Swami will never do anything after 4:30 to 6. At that time, so I was sitting there, and the sun is so hot, and it's very hot. Suddenly, at 3:45, I get a message. Swami wants to bless your car. I said, that's good. So what I was supposed to do is, there's a side entrance to the Yajur Mandir, and that's where the Sarvadharma Stupa is. So Padmanabhan already said, sir, you just drive it over there and park it, and Swami will come from the side door and bless the car. It was terribly sunny and the sun was beating down, and I said, how is Swami even going to stand there or sit there in the chair and look at the car? Anyway, he said he'll bless it, all I need is that. So I gently drove the car there and parked and waited. Next 5 minutes, the whole cloud cover comes, it's nice and cool, and the next thing I know, the door opens and Swami is right there sitting in his chair, and Satyajit was next to him. So I literally ran to him, took his Pada Namaskaram and gave him the car keys. So he took the car keys and, he was, and Satyajit says, Swami, you can open and close the car from here, Swami. As if Swami said, oh, is that so? So he was fiddling around with it. And then Swami said, okay, Choudary, drive a little bit around. I said, here, Swami, yes, drive around. So I was getting ready to drive. They broke a coconut in front, and I was ready to start. Swami said, stop. I said, what's going on? Suddenly he calls Padmanabhan and says, break a coconut behind the car also. Can't break only in front, you have to break a coconut behind the car also. So he broke a coconut behind, and they put 4 lemons in front of each tire. So I drove the car around and then stopped it for Swami to see. And he said, oh, it is nice. Meanwhile, this Padmanabhan is really a very interesting guy. He knows a lot about cars. And so he opened all the doors, including the trunk door, and opened, and the back seat was down. And then Swami starts looking, and then Padmanabhan, how come Chowdary's car is so high? Our car is very low. As if he doesn't. And Padmanabhan said, Swami, this is a sports utility car, Swami. He needs to go and get big things and things like that and all that. And it was really just something to say to us. Then I said, Swami, can I take you for a drive? And he laughed and he said, normally I would have come, but that car seat is different, my seat is different, but enjoy the car. And so he really, blessed it, and that has been my, car. It's just mind-boggling that, you have the avatar sitting there, and he just kind of takes you through these loops, back and forth and up and down, and that's what I needed. In the beginning, I had no idea. There's no way I could have gotten an SUV or a CRV first day. I needed to learn even how to drive in India, and the best was the van. Of course, sure enough, when I got comfortable, got my lesson learned, then I got the Zen, which was really interesting, and finally I got the CRV, which is the car I needed, to drive, up and down in those kind of, roads. So you see, it's unless you go through this, it's difficult to perceive how even minutest things have to happen with Swami's blessings. He even knew my car was there. And he even told Satyajit, let's Choudary take his car and go back. And they forgot. God doesn't forget. that's basically what. And the other thing I thought I would share a little bit was how all these things evolve. It's a divine plan. It's a divine plan. So when I got into Whitefield, that's where I was doing most of my work, there's no Swami. And, work. So some of the boys were there. So one day I was talking to them and I said, it will be nice if we have a tennis court here. And they said, yes, sir. And actually, that's another long story. Maybe some other time I will tell you about me translating one of Swami's speeches. That was a mind-boggling thing. In that speech, Swami said, you will have this was 6 years ago, 7, you will have a nice sports facility here, you will have a tennis court and all that. I just forgot because I translated the speech myself, but still didn't remember this. You remember Swami said we'll have all that. I said, okay, but I'm not thinking of anything, I'm just thinking of a tennis court. They said, yes, sir, we can have a tennis court and then we can play. How these Swami's boys are, and then they said, put it in my brain, sir, tennis court is good, but it will also be nice if you have a little, like a gym, we can do workout and things like that. And you remember, Swami said we will have a gym. I said, okay, now I get everything. So sure enough, these boys are so good, internet is so easy. So we made a nice plan with a tennis court outside, a lap pool, and then a gym. So as usual, I took the whole plan and showed it to Chakravarti, and he started laughing. Doctor, are you crazy? I said, sir, what's the problem? Swimming pool. You think Swami is going to allow you to have a swimming pool in the hospital with men and women and trying to strike it off? Then only you might even see. Sure enough, I saw the reasoning behind, so I took it off. So I just had the tennis court and the building. So I kept going with those plans every day, and he wouldn't even look at me. Finally, one day he must have tired. He said, what is it you have in your hand? I said, Swami, you promised those people at one time that they will have a sports center, like a gym and a tennis court. I have plans, Swami. I want to build one there. They're supposed to be working there. What do you want to do all that for? No, forget it. It was very, very clear. I don't understand. Swami himself said that, and I even translated in the speech, you will have a sports center, tennis court and all that. Now he's just thrashing the whole thing. Then again, I didn't give up. Next time I went back, again I had the same thing. So finally, really I had to pester him a couple of times, and then finally he said, okay, get the full plans and I'll see what can be done and what is it all about it. I said, okay, Swami. And then before I forgot, I said, who is going to maintain it? I said, Swami, we will work around it, Swami. We will maintain it. It's not an issue, Swami. We'll do it and all that. See, that's where the businessman part comes into, Swami. See, people can build. Everybody can build. We have built the Chaitanya Jyoti. You know how much it costs for them to maintain it every month? It comes from Central Trust. It's a lot of money. And they still maintain it. So that's just to give a glimpse of it, how practical Swami is. So anyway, finally, this was February of 2008. He looked at the plans finally. Either he got tired of me or whatever, going to get rid of me. He said, okay, go ahead, build it, it's fine. Okay, you can have a gym there and a tennis court. So I got really thrilled. In March, we did the groundbreaking ceremony, and I found the contractors and everything was set up. And I said, listen, you guys have 3 months. I'm coming back end of May. and before Swami leaves to Parthi, first or second week of June, we need to have it opened up. How you do it, I have no idea. You have to do it. Sure enough, the guys did a phenomenal job. You know, the tennis court is there. This is a 6,000 or 7,000 square feet gym with 2 areas. Actually, men are separate, women are separate. And then one sport that's very popular in India is a shuttle. And for that, you need a 60-foot tall, very air-controlled court.
I didn't understand. What is the popular game?
It's a shuttle, badminton with a shuttle. Yeah, they call it shuttle. In Asia, it's very popular, shuttle. So, sure enough, when I went there end of May, it's all done. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was all done, perfectly done. And now my prayer is for Swami to come and open it. I know it's a far cry, but I always used to dream. So finally, I took all the pictures of it. So again, I was there when he was coming out of the Ramesh hall with these pictures in my hand. Finally got it. So what is all? Swami, this sports complex is ready, Swami. Please, can you come and open it? Can you come and open it? And he'll say, I'll see, I will see. That's all he will say, I will see. I don't know what I will see means, but I was just praying to him every day, morning, evening, Swami, you have to come, you have to come. Finally, about 3 days before, actually, he was ready to leave to Parthi. He talked to me and the director and he said, yes, I will come. But he didn't say when, what, or what it is, I'll come. And finally, so we pestered him and said, Swami, Saturday, please come. That's a half working day and it will be nice. So he said yes, but which doesn't mean anything. He said yes, yes. So we got everything ready. We had a cake ordered and the whole building was really spruced up with all decorations and everything. And again, 9 to 10:30 is Rahu column on Saturday, so I know nothing will happen on Saturday before 10:30. And we were all waiting, don't know what's going to happen. Exactly at 10:35, we get a word, Swami left. Then we don't know where he's going to go. He left means he left. Then the word came, he's coming towards the hospital. So we had to literally hijack his car because as it came through the main entrance, the boys were all there in their motorcycles as an escort. And sure enough, they literally escorted him to the sports complex. And he came straight and I was there and we received him. And we made a nice, instead of making a ribbon, we made it with a garland. So he has to touch it and it will fall. And then we had a very nice cake for him to cut. And I dedicated it to my parents. He knows, and he saw my parents' picture there. And he said, because Swami always is very comfortable that he always says the same thing. We all know that. Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, in that order.
Which means?
Mother first, father, then Guru, Aditi, guest, Daivam, God. These 5 people are integral part of your life, but mom still comes first. So I basically dedicated it to my parents, and it was for me itself. It was really a thrilling day, literally, because I was able to go with Swami, light the candle, cut the cake. Then he looked at the entire gym. We had an area where we had a table tennis table, and somewhere we found a picture of Swami playing table tennis. It's in black and white. Probably when he was like 16 or 17 years old. I'm sure you must have seen it. So we got that blown up, scanning. These days anything can be done from anything. Whatever the picture is, so we scanned it, made it into a nice big, so we put it on either side. And he just was wheeled into that room and Satyajit kind of, Swami, you're playing table tennis. So And then, of course, we also had to make a creche, for the kids because they didn't have one in the hospital. So he was really, what is there for us other than make Swami happy? And it really was really beautiful, at least from my perspective. Of course, he went through the whole thing, blessed everybody, blessed everything. He spent almost about 45 minutes in the gym, looked at everything, all the equipment and everything. Then, of course, he hosted for all of us, all 800 of us, at lunch at that time, same day in the hospital. And some of those pictures you can see in that album I have left behind. And it was really, for me, a very satisfying thing. Not that Swami came and opened, which to me was the most important, but it's a very ironic thing. Hospitals having a gym. You think physicians are the healthiest people. On the contrary, some of the unhealthiest people are physicians. They don't take care of themselves. That's one of the reasons why we put the gym there, mostly for the hospital employees and the physicians and things like that. So it was really very. You said you have another 5 minutes for me? 10 minutes. Oh, okay. I'll tell you one other thing, which is as far as we're talking about cars. I was in Brazil, and they have this professor, Homogeneous. He's almost in the 90s now. He's their yoga guru and very staunch devotee of Swami. And one day we both were speakers on the same time, so they always give me a translator because very few people. So Homogeneous tells this beautiful story about a very poor farmer in the northern part of Brazil. Brazil is like two countries, north and south. South is industrialized, nice, wealthy. North is poor, famine, farmers. So there is this very poor farmer up in the north. So one day in the morning, he wakes up, sure enough, he finds the genie in front of him, and genie says, I'll give you 3 wishes, whatever you want. Ask for 3 wishes. And first he didn't understand. And he said, anything I want. He said, yes, anything you want. So he says, first wish, I want a piece of fresh cheese. Cheese. So the genie says, what's this guy? Anyway, okay. She gives him a piece of fresh cheese. Then she says, what's your second wish? She says, I want a very beautiful woman. The genie thinks, this guy got the idea now, so makes a very beautiful woman. Then he said, what will be your third wish? He scratches and says, I want another piece of fresh cheese. So genie gives him another piece of fresh cheese and says, I don't understand you at all. I could have given you anything, and you wanted this? He says, no, you don't understand, genie. All my life, I wanted to eat fresh cheese. Actually, I was going to ask you for 3 pieces of fresh cheese. You may think I'm crazy, so I asked for a lady in between. So what's the moral? Moral, according to Professor A, is you don't go to God and ask for cheese. You don't ask for a piece of glass. You don't ask. You have to ask the right thing. Right thing. How you know what's the right thing to ask God? That comes out of generations and lives and lives and lives and lives. One day we were all in Kodaikanal. There were 4 of us. And Swami came down a little early that day. And Professor Sampath is a retired vice chancellor. He's really a very evolved person. So there were 4 of us, and Swami was there. He was very free. He suddenly looked at Swami. Swami, we must have done something good in our last life. We are this close to you, Swami. Swami looks at us and says, Sampath, not last life, last 100 lives. So you see, that's how it evolves. So first when I went to Swami, I wanted him to talk to me every day. I wanted to ride in his car, I want to get gifts from him. That was what I went there. This is how you evolve. So one of my wishes was, it would be nice to ride in his car. Everybody is telling, oh, I went. So it so happened we operated on a very important patient. Everybody is important, but this guy is not even a devotee. That's the other part of it. So 2 days after surgery, the guy is doing very well. And so in the afternoon, Swami comes and says, Choudary, we should go to hospital and see that patient. What do you think? And I was so green those days. And I said, Swami, tomorrow morning will be better, Swami, because there will be a lot of people. All the people will be working in the hospital, Swami. This evening, not many people. He said, yes, you're right. And he goes inside. And I was so stupid, and I was sitting outside. The next thing I know, one of Swami's boys literally running like an arrow across the Purnachandra hall. And sure enough, those days there used to be maroon BMW slowly coming between the people. And I'm saying, what's going on here? He said, okay, tomorrow morning. Next thing I know, he comes out, and I always go with a cardiologist. He says, one of you sit in the front, one of you sit in the back. I said, what's he talking about? Then the car pulls in. Then I realized that he wants one of us to sit in the back. So my friend is really very nice. We sat in the front, and I sat next to Swami in the back seat. I mean, I have driven almost any car, Porsches, whatever you name it, Ferraris. But sitting next to Swami in that car, it's just something, I just can't even explain it, really. And the way it just literally glides through with sea of humanity all around. So the next thing, the car starts going out of the main gate, and suddenly there are these people, 10, 15 deep on either side. So I said, Swami, yes, sir. Swami, you just decided 5 minutes ago, how come all these people are already waiting for you? And he says, sir, this is faster than your television, sir. I couldn't believe it. Just could not believe it. So we went to the hospital. It was really phenomenal sitting next to him. So he was talking to us all the way through. It was really nice. So we went to the hospital. So we got out, saw the patient, and everything happened. And then we came back. And then we were coming back. We sit exactly. I was sitting in the back seat next to him. And then I suddenly realized I was sitting behind the driver. That's where Swami was sitting before, because the car goes like this, he gets off, and then when he comes down, it turns this way. So he got it, and I suddenly got a jerk. I'm sitting in the place where Swami was sitting before. It just was, one of those things, suddenly I jerked forward. Swami says, what? So I said, no, nothing, Swami, I'm okay. Relax. So, like I said, these are all the things that are mundane, but I didn't know that those were very important to me, that he would talk to me every day in the morning whenever I come. When did you come? What's going on, like that. So, but as time went by, I realized these are cheeses, pieces of glasses. So what you ask?
We got 5 minutes. Can we get some questions?
Oh, sure. So what you want to ask is...
Were you with Swami in the last few weeks in his body?
Okay. She wants to know what is it like, Swami, the last 2 weeks.
You were with him.
Yes, I was. Can I spend 1 minute and tell you about what happened the last day I was leaving? That was on February 10th. I had my ticket booked February 10th morning. I always take the British Airways flight, Bangalore to London, London to here. So on 8th, which is a Tuesday, February, I went to Parthi, because I never leave India unless I get his blessings and Pata Namaskaram. I said, Tuesday is very good, Wednesday is very good, I'm not leaving till Thursday morning. He never came for darshan on Tuesday evening, never came for darshan Wednesday morning. So Wednesday evening is my only chance. So I have a place to sit right in front of the Yajur Mandir. So I was sitting there. Next thing I realized, there were this 40 of these monks, because it's a Chinese New Year, and they had a huge celebration. And I said, there goes your chance, and I can't cancel my ticket. And 6:45, the door opens, Swami comes, and he says, what are you doing here? I said, Swami, my ticket is for tomorrow morning. I'm going. He said, fine, blessed me, everything, talked to me, gave me vibhuti. And then we all went inside. They were all ready for a huge celebration. And my other mission apart from that was, I have written a book about Swami for a long time ago. It's called My Avatar is Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And I made it into an audio book. I wanted him to bless it. So after 3 bhajans, that's it, no function, nothing. He just started coming out. And I said, this is my only chance. So I went to him and he said, what? Swami, this is the book that I've written about you, and it's into an audio thing. Audio? Yes, Swami, a lot of people drive, they can listen. So he was so happy, he blessed it. And we released it, and I came home. And I had my passport surrendered because it's 10 years, I have to get it renewed. I didn't have a passport, I didn't have a visa.
You come back here in the
I'm in the United States, and Swami is in the hospital. You would never believe the Consulate General calls me. Can you believe that? Have you ever heard a Consulate General calling you? They won't even give you time of the day. Says, oh, Dr. Voleti, it seems you're needed in India. I said, yes. Just fill in the application online, we'll take care of it. They even paid my $85. Next day by FedEx, my passport is there with a visa, because I was originally trying to get an OCI. Everything done. So anyway, I went and saw him. No, he left his, this is my version of it, could be very controversial. If you see his last darshan, you know that's the end of it. Everybody knew. There is no way an avatar is going to do this to people all around. That is, the handwriting is on the wall. Handwriting. He knew. But then at the same time, with his, this also over the years, see, in the beginning when I went there, he would always tell me, do this on this patient, do this on this patient. Last 3-4 years, any patient would come, he would say, go to the doctor, see what they think is right, do it. That's all it is. Except only twice in the last 3 years, he personally told me what to do on 2 patients. Other than that, he would say, listen to the doctors and do what it's doing. So he just let us do whatever is humanly possible, but that's, I think, something that has to go through, and that's what has really happened. But his body is 85 years old, whatever we want to call with, the lunar months, it could be 96, that's very likely. But physiologically, his body deteriorated because of age, and that's what it was. He was conscious, somewhat, but those times you cannot tell whether he was really conscious, was not
like
conscious.
Samadhi and not really openly communicating.
No, because after the first 10 days, he needed help to be breathed. So at that time, you have a tube down your throat, so you won't be able to communicate. But still, from what you could tell, his faculties were always, there. They were there. They were there. Till the night before, when the brain waves were not there. Sorry.
I've often thought that Swami being God didn't really probably need to go through all this, but did you feel like whatever he allowed the doctors do to him to help him, that it was actually a gift that he was giving to you, the doctors, so that you could feel like you were doing something for him?
Yes, her question was that did Swami allow the doctors to do their duties, though, he is God. You are perfectly right. You're perfectly right. These are all people, the ones that served him are the ones that were very close to him all his life. And I think it's either the chance he has given them to be with him during those days. Otherwise, I'm not that close, really, seriously. But I always have one other thing. You are as close to Swami as you think you are. You are as far away from Swami as you are afraid of. That's my take on it. Though I was stuck in Kauai. That's a third world country as far as I'm concerned. Kauai, that's where I was. No passport, no visa, nothing. I got everything, and I was able to go there. And probably I would not have been very satisfied or happy or anything, because Jean asked me earlier today, do you miss Swami? I said, no, I really do not. I think he prepared me very well. He prepared me very well that he will always be with me. He will always be with me. So when somebody says, oh God, you're traveling alone, I said, no. What do you mean, no, you have only one ticket? No, I have Swami with me. So that's basically what it's a subconscious thing for you to do, same thing like that. So I think the physical body is there. So that's how he weaned us all. That's why I was so, it's just surprised, because last day when this all happened, the boys came and said, sir, it looks like Swami came outside today only for you. That's all he did. He blessed you, he blessed your book, and he didn't even let the Chinese New Year ceremony go ahead. But I don't take pride in it. I'm just telling that's how it looked like to me also. And I tell you, Saira, I have never left even from Parthi to Whitefield without his blessing or Pada Namaskaram. But especially when I have to leave the country, I would not leave. And he always, there's really no exception. Rarely we say in medicine always, never. But here, I'm never able not to get his Pada Namaskaram before I left. And it happened the same thing, this happened. Yes?
How often do you go back?
The question is how often actually, after these 8-9 years, I got also a little bit, I'm getting old. I don't know how old, but I'm getting old. So last year, actually, I don't know if any of you know, there's a beautiful Shiva temple in the island of Kauai. Yes, it's all built marble. And I had a picture of it and I showed it to Swami. There is especially a beautiful statue of Dakshinamurti, almost about 20 feet. So I showed it to him and I said, Swami, this is the island I want to settle. And I would only be able to work maybe 6 months every year from now on. This was last year. He always said yes. Whatever, he's the most reasonable person I have ever seen, but for being God, seriously. You tell him I'm going to jump off the roof, he'll say, very good. Because he's ready to catch you below when you jump off, if you are stupid enough to do that. But that's my take on it. So I said, Swami, I will be cutting down my work. He said, yes, very good. So I cut down. Now, actually, I'm cutting it down. I probably will spend there 3 months, and the other 9 months, I probably will really, really enjoy what I haven't been able to do 40, 45 years. Yes?
How many years did you serve in this hospital? How many years did you physically live most of the year there? Once you cut your bonds here and went, so how many years were you there?
Actually, I took early retirement in 2001 March. Then I always had this idea that I wanted to go around the world. And Swami knows that. So one day I was in the interview room, he was there, I was sitting at his feet. I had this little map from AAA, and I said, Swami, this is it, this is this, I want to go around the world. He looks at me and says, Choudary, it's very easy to travel on the map. I said, Swami, with your blessing, I can do it. He blessed me. So I took almost 4 months. I did go around the world. Then I had 2 of my personal obligations. And by about 2003, 2004, instead of 2, 3, 4 months, I had started spending 9 months. So till last year, I was spending 9 months there and the other 3 months. So now it's the other way around.
What's the most profound experience you have had with him?
One day, I'm sure all of you know Mahabharata, right? The fight of Kauravas and Pandavas, the good against the evil. There's a very beautiful stage drama written about. It's called Krishna as a Messenger. Sri Krishna Raya Bharam. That's the sense. Krishna as a messenger. Lord Krishna tries to. Her question was, what's the most profound experience I had with Swami? I think this has to come very high there. Out of there. So, Lord Krishna tries a last-ditch effort as a messenger to go to Kauravas, the bad people, to convince them war is a bad idea. This is a beautifully written stage drama. It's a prose, and it's a very classical one, very popular in whole of India, and a very brilliant troupe was performing it for Swami, really in Purnachandra Hall. The whole hall was full. You know how that stage is so beautiful. And I love these kind of things because I was brought up with that culture background, and it so happened that day I was sitting very next to Swami. It's ironic you asked me that question. I was sitting next to Swami. So the intermission comes, and I looked at Swami and I said, Swami, I love you more than anything in my life. But how is it that I'm afraid of you? I'm really afraid of you, Swami. Why is it that I'm afraid of you? And he looked at me and he said, you saw the stage? Yes, Swami. You saw Arjuna there, you saw Krishna there. Yes, Swami. You see, Krishna and Arjuna are not only brothers and brother-in-laws, which is what it is. They're the best friends. They will eat together, play together, do everything together. The reaction or the affection that Arjuna has for Krishna is respect and reverence and love. And that's what you have for me, but you are misinterpreting it as fear. And it is what is called Nara-Narayana relationship. Nara is a human being, Narayana is the God. He said, so that's the relationship we have, Nara-Narayana. It's going on forever and ever. Don't misinterpret your love for fear. Jai Sai Ram.